HIV prevention services for young key populations?
Okay, thank you so much for this wonderful opportunity. So when I looked at the Gen N platform that was shared to me, so I saw agenda number 8 that talked about condom negotiation skill. I think it stand out for me on that particular question because looking at it as men, they have low skill on condom negotiation. You will not blame them because according to educational policy in the country, nobody talks about anal intercourse in secondary school, and sexual minority persons remains underrepresented in condom negotiation skills. So when they go out into the community, when they come out of that section, they meet with older MSM, they meet with older people, and they are easily misled. So I have a story where I was working with No Hate Network, a transgender organization in the states implementing HIV Nahi grant. So I met 17 years old young boy who tested positive for HIV. So during the interaction, he was asking me, how did I even get infected when I don't even have sex with man and woman, as our biology teacher taught us in secondary school? So it's not his fault because he does not know that anal intercourse increases the risk of transmission. So I asked him, why don't you use a condom? He said, I thought it's used to prevent pregnancy. So I asked him, what about STI? He said that he's not a girl, so he's not going to be pregnant. And thereby they engaging in so Gen platform should leverage the sexual minority key populations on content negotiation skill, empower them, leverage on the ways you can to make sure that all these sexual minority persons have access to condom, and they should stand their ground to say no to raw sex. So another thing I can add on Gen N platform to increase access is when you cannot talk about HIV negative generation, HIV zero program. Yeah, viral. Let the science of you equals to you take place as treatment as prevention. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that beautiful session.
My question goes to you. Sorry, I don't know if you have heard. Very good. Why I want to add to this is because we need to go back to the grassroots. Adolescent, yes. If we look at the country right now, we see that the average person, 3 square a meal is very hard for the person to get. So why not we look into economic empowerment to empower these people from the grassroots? Because
Stations are
Yes, yes, yes. He has a fan. It's only women that are shouting, sha, but that's fine. All right. So before the session, we have gifts to give, which is a cap and a jotter. So my colleague, who was the first moderator, is going to ask two questions. You understand, from the crowd, and anybody that gets the questions gets to get. So we don't have time. So please, you have to be very quick. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, thank you very much. So, just to also mention, we have another speaker, Rosemary Ua Leme. I'm so sorry. I hope I did not
So
mispronounce your name.
yes.
Inspire Minds Foundation. So please come on stage so that you can take the floor immediately after Shola. Thank you. Okay, so quick one, two questions. The first person to come to the front to grab my mic gets it. If you get the answer, by the way. Now, there's something we always talk about within the HIV response 95, 95, 95. Can someone come and tell me the full meaning of 95, 95, 95 strategy? The first person that gets to the front. I don't want anybody wearing a red tag. I don't want anybody wearing a red tag. Go back. You're wearing a red tag. You have it already. Yes, please go ahead. Tell us. Okay. Hello. So the 95, 95, 95 simply means the first 95 means we ensure 95% of persons are tested, know their HIV status, are tested and know their HIV status. So the second 95 means we ensure that 95% living with HIV are on ART, that is medication. And the last 95 means 95% of persons being on HIV are now wow, that finish now. Are very suppressed. Thank you. Please let's appreciate her. Wonderful. Come and collect your gifts. Beautiful. Okay, we have one more question. We have one more question. We need somebody who can come and tell us what SDG 1 to 5 are. SDGs 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The first person to get to the front to answer our question. Nobody.
SDG 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Nobody.
Yeah. You are not
Time is going, oh God.
colonize us for this Africa.
3 gone.
Benefit from any of those countries.
2 gone.
And I know say the country where we dey benefit from us.
Okay, we have some.
Canada, Canada, Canada,
Canada.
SDG 1, zero hunger. SDG 2, good health and well-being. SDG 3, good health and well-being. SDG 4, quality education. SDG 5, gender equality.
Is that correct?
You mix them up. Oh. Should we give it to him? Does anybody want to try?
So let's give him a round of applause for effort.
So please, SDG 1 is what? No poverty. SDG 2, zero hunger. SDG 3, good health and well-being. SDG 4, quality education. SDG 5, gender equality. Alice, for coming out. We appreciate you. Thank you. Okay, so we're going to give it now to our speakers. So you have just 5 minutes. Yeah? So wow us. Blow our minds away. Thank you.
So the first speaker again is by name Oladeji Adeshola.
Hello, everybody, and good afternoon. How are we doing? How are we doing? I know we are tired. Trust me. I promise you, I'm tired too. But let's just try and do this together. So for today, I will be telling you a very, very short story. Now, I will be working with the media team, and I'll be telling them to proceed by the slides. So kindly pay attention. This is a very short story. Next slide, please. I would like to tell you a story about a real event and a real person. For the sake of confidentiality, we shall call this person character X. X was a young person that lived life good, but at some point during their tender age, they were diagnosed with HIV. And as you'd expect, it was a life-changing situation, life-shattering. It affected them and their family. But then you think that was the end. But then X started getting treatment. X started going for medications. They even joined a support group. And then they achieved 000. 0 missed appointments, 0 missed medication, and 0 viral load. For anyone in the HIV space, you understand that once you can achieve 000, that means you're on a path to recovery, a path to a healthy life. And yes, they were. Things started to get better. And it was hope for him as well as his community. But we'll get back to X in just a second. What is mental health? Mental health basically talks about your level of well-being psychologically, how you think, your thought processes, emotionally, how you feel internally, and your ability to control these emotions, and intersocially, how you behave with your people around you, as well as your environment. Next slide, please. Key facts about mental health. Suicide is the 4th leading cause of death amongst AYP. There was a period in the last 2 years by which we saw a plague of suicide incidents. I'm sure some of us here still remember that. Statistically in Nigeria, if you're not aware, it goes that 1 in every 4 Nigerian experiences some form of mental illness or disorder or the other. There is at least over 40 people here, which means, do you know how many people besides you could be suffering from something? The beauty is some people know this and some people don't know this. Next slide, please. Why is mental health at the AYP stage of life so important? Because this is when we learn skills, coping skills, strategic skills, life skills, time management skills, anything that will make us who we are as full grown adults. We learn it as youth. Next slide, please. Next slide. We can skip this one. The more risk factors adolescents and young people are exposed to, the higher the probability of them developing a mental illness. I would like for us to understand this for a second. There are some certain mental illnesses and disorders by which the key cause for this is trauma in childhood. If you don't experience trauma at a tender age, you can't develop this disorder. And it has been shown by study by which those that even grow up to develop some form of mental illness or the other, they have a traumatic background, a rough childhood, and they experience one thing or the other that made their childhood not so fun. Next slide, please. Possible things that could happen. Violence is not limited to just physical, sexual violence too, undue harsh parenting, SAPA in terms of socioeconomic. The truth is, most people don't understand that poverty can be very traumatizing. When you lack, it can be traumatizing. I've experienced some kind of SAPA that I was traumatized personally, that could this be me? And I'm sure somebody here has experienced that too. Am I wrong? Please, am I wrong? Exactly. So this is facts. Let's not overplay this. Next slide, please. Next slide. Now, disorders. The most common disorders, emotional disorders. This deals with dysregulation in emotions, how you feel. Some people live in a depressive state. Some people, they have anger issues. Some people, you might not know this is a problem, but being overjoyous all the time can cause problems. This exists too. The thing is, one should not aim to live at any extreme of mental health or emotion. One should aim for balance. That should be the objective. Next slide, please. Now, why are we talking about mental health at the HIV prevention conference? Next slide. Now, who remembers our friend X? X achieved 000, as I said. 0 viral load, they missed 0 appointments, 0 medications. X was doing good, according to everybody. Their family thought they were good. But sadly, one day X's parents walked into their room and they found that X had committed suicide. It was a tragedy. Nobody understood why. And this is something that happened not too long ago. I promise you, this is a true story. And the saddest part is they didn't know why. But they found a letter that explained that X was depressed. He was struggling mentally, psychologically. And this is why it is that he proceeded to end his life. You see, the error they made, and it's an error by which we have been making all these years in the HIV space, is to think that once we can cover the virus fronts, that is all. When you are diagnosed with any form of lifelong illness, chronic illness, I promise you, there's a kickback psychologically. There's a way it affects you internally. But I want to also point this out. This is not limited to just HIV. If it is a disability you have, maybe sight, sound, you can't speak, you can't move as much as you'd like, the stigma of others, what would they say? Sometimes the stigma of myself to myself. Why am I like this? These things can cause depression. And sometimes it's not even about these things. It could be someone in the KP space, maybe your sexual orientation, maybe your sense of identity. Why am I like this? Why am I not like that? Why are they making fun of me? Why can't I tell people proudly this is who I am? These things, when it's not a safe space to be who you are, to be what you are, it can lead to depression, it can lead to anxiety, it can lead to so many other things that could lead to death, could lead to suffering. Now, I'll ask you all a question. If we have been taking mental health serious in the HIV space, in other spaces, I believe very firmly, and I would like to ask if you believe the same thing. I believe X will be seated right here with us. That's what I believe. But there are so many X's out there that are still alive today. And we can start a process to make sure they are alive with us tomorrow. And that's the most important thing, because we are here to save lives. It's not about just getting on a stage and talking. Are we making impact? Are we doing what we set out to do? That's the most essential part of this process. And we need to be capital intensive about those that matter. Next slide, please. Next slide. I'm so sorry that I'm skipping slides. I'm trying to give you a very short version of this presentation. It was meant to be longer. Now, what can we they call for a bidirectional integration? I come from the mental health space, but I'm here in the HIV space because we are trying to make this connection. The point is to establish a joint system of treatment, a joint plan that covers all fronts, not just the virus front, but the mental front, the emotional front. These things do matter and they should always be a priority. And on that, we call on sponsors and donors to turn the gaze of their attention and their care towards these things, because it will require resources naturally. But most importantly, I would say to you guys here, my fellow young people, we are the ones at the front of this battle. We need to be there for our friends and our neighbors. We need to be there for those that are struggling with these things. There's nothing wrong with being there for someone when they are depressed. It doesn't matter if you have problems or not. As I like to say, it's not a competition of who is suffering more. And what are you going through? You know, reach my own. Make I face my own, make you face your own. We shouldn't live like that. And we shouldn't judge a pain we've never experienced. Every emotion is valid. Every trauma is valid. So I leave you all with this task. Let's do this together. Let's take mental health serious in our space. Let's take whatever we are doing serious in our space. Thank you.
A round of applause for Ladeji Adeshola. So our last speaker before we head out for lunch is by name Rosemary.
We're not going to tell you our names, and we're not going to show our face, but we're going to tell you
So
about
when the other
HIV.
speaker was speaking, you
We
guys
are
just
brother
know
and sister.
now it's my
I am
turn and you're
HIV
not
negative,
moving.
and I am HIV positive. I was born with the virus, and so I am HIV positive. We're
All
not
right,
going to
thank
tell
you
you our
very
names,
much.
and
My
we're
name
not
is
going to show our
Rosemary
face,
Oneme.
but we're going to tell you about HIV.
But before I continue, I'd
We
like
are
to
brother
say
and sister. I am HIV negative, and I am HIV positive. I was born with the virus, and so I have to take my medicines every day. The doctor tells me that if I take my medication, I can live a long and happy life. I don't think the doctor is right about living a happy life, because I see my sister crying almost every day. She doesn't cry because she feels sick, but because people are mean to her. Mommy tells me that children are cruel because they don't know better. She says you can't get the virus by sharing a joke, hugging someone, or by being friendly. It makes me angry when I see how my sister is treated. She's really good at sports, and when we play at home, she wins many times. But on the field, when the captains are choosing their teams, my sister is always left last, even though she can play better than most of the others. I guess I'm getting used to it a little. I've stopped trying to make friends with anyone. I spend all my break times with my brother or in class pretending to finish my schoolwork. This is my last year at our school, and I am really worried about leaving my sister behind. I think she will be very lonely. I saw her making a poster that said, "Friends
thank
wanted."
you. Yes. Once again, my name is Rosemary Waleme. I represent Inspire Minds Education Foundation. I'm really excited to be here in your presence to talk about stigma and discrimination against those living with HIV. So this is a story of a young girl who is experiencing stigmatization in school, and her brother is so worried about her because he'll be leaving for senior secondary and doesn't know how she's going to cope. Now, this young girl is traumatized because of the way they are treating her in school and everything. Now, let's look at this scenario. Imagine a girl, what will happen to her self confidence? The other speaker said something about most mental health cases. Um, Part of the things that affect us is our childhood, right? So imagine this girl, she has every tendency to have mental health issues in the future. So the big question is in our schools, what are we telling our kids? So when we have World Mental Health Day, What information are we passing across to these kids in school? Is there like a template for every school to carry out sensitizations on such days? Because we're talking about stigma here. Next slide, please. And stigma is very serious. It eats deep into a human. Just imagine you carrying secrets for the rest of your life because you dare not to say it to anyone. Because when you say it, you'll be stigmatized. Working with people in the HIV sector has made my eyes open because I realize that a lot of people really don't understand. It's not like they don't know or they don't hear it, but they're not really aware of the impact of stigma. I watched a video by recently on YouTube. It was a skit, and I don't. It's a popular actress, and she did something like laughing at the person for the con. She bought the person. She saw the person's certificate test results when she bought corn, and she was like, "You don't tell your friend. Say you be carrier." Like she was joking with it, but it's very serious because that makes a lot of people not to want to get tested because they're afraid that if I get tested, what if I have it? That makes a lot of people not want to, go for treatment because they don't know how they'll be looked at. They don't know how it will turn out, etc. So stigma is very, very, very serious. Now, this is a highlight from the Nigerian HIV Stigma Index survey by NEP1 UNAIDS in 2021. I'll be very brief about it so you realize the impact stigma has. This survey was conducted for 2,376 people via interview. And if you can see, 29% of the respondents said that they have felt suicidal in the past 12 months because of their HIV status. 25% said they had delayed or avoided seeking health care for fear of stigma or discrimination in the past 12 months. 19% of the respondents said they had missed or stopped taking their antiretroviral therapy. 18% of the respondents said they had experienced depression or anxiety because of HIV status in the past 12 months. So stigma is very deep, and it's one of the reasons for people living with HIV AIDS on AIDS developing mental health crisis. Sorry, the code is a lot up here. Next slide, please. Yes, so I'm going to tell you a story of a girl a lady actually, she's a lady now. So she was ill, and in the process of them giving her blood, she was admitted. She got infected with the HIV virus. She didn't know. She got married, and had got pregnant. And in the process of after giving birth, she realized that the baby was ill because the baby was HIV um positive, and the baby died. That was because she was not aware. Probably if she was aware, she would have taken our time. They would have advised her on what to do and all. So she and her husband got infected, but through supportive communities, like, we have some of them here, like APIN, NACA, and all that. She was able to find herself again, and she got her second baby, but this time the baby was not infected, and they are living their lives happily. So it just tells you what information can do to save a life, right? But before we can end stigma, we must understand the roots of stigma. How did stigma start? So in the 1980s, when HIV started, there was a lot of deaths. People were, you know, afraid. And the media didn't even help it because they'll tell you, they show for face. So, they show for face. They'll tell you all the scary things. And we grew up with that mindset that, if you see someone run for your life. That's how it started. And you must understand how it started before you can be able to solve the problem. If you don't know the root, you cannot know the solution. So, how can we stop this misinformation that is everywhere around us now? We need to create a lot of awareness. I tell you, even the educated ones that have finished school, that are working, that are doing well, they have no clue.
They hear it, but they don't really understand it. Okay, so there needs to be lots of awareness in our schools, lots of awareness through community projects, lots of awareness through the media. People need to know that HIV treatment has evolved. As a matter of fact, there are pre-exposure medications and post-exposure medications that are very effective. There are medications people can take and their baby will not be infected with the virus, the ART treatment, if they take it effectively. More so, a HIV infected person can consummate with a HIV negative person, and that person will not get infected with the virus because of effective antiretroviral treatment, because that reduces the viral load to 0. So there's a lot of things that need to go out there. If you had asked me like 5 years ago, I would not believe this statement I just made now, because I hear it from afar, but I don't really understand it. So the information needs to go both in the schools, secondary schools, especially starting from the primary schools, avenues like the HIV AIDS Day, International Day of the HIV day, right? So laws also, as an individual, people need to understand the rights that they have. They need to understand that if they're stigmatized in their workplace, they can file to NACA, they can file to, Human Rights Commission. They need to know these things. People don't know. So we just face these things and suffer silently. Imagine someone going through all that, no help, and your family, who is supposed to be the first point of where you're supposed to run to, because of lack of information, they can't help you. They stigmatize you also. So the information needs to go. Okay, and we need to come to terms with the fact that this person is an individual who has skills, who has talent, who has so much to offer beyond the virus. But one thing we must take home today is that stigma can come from the outside, but you can stigmatize yourself from the inside. You stigmatize yourself when you feel like your whole world is crashing because of your status. You stigmatize yourself when you feel like there's nothing more for you to achieve because of your status. Remember that you are what you are, even with your status. You have skills, you have strengths, you have good personalities, and you also have so much love to give to the world. So I want to encourage anyone facing stigma today, whether from friends, whether from communities or different communities. I want you to believe that. I want you to seek information, first of all. Understand these things. What do I need to do to make this, to turn around this situation that I have to be for my good? Just imagine us having, even in our government sectors, people that are advocating for these things, and you're part of them. Your status shouldn't stop you from doing that. Today, I want us to pledge, each and every one of us, hand in hand, that we will try as much as possible to say no to stigma and discrimination of those living with HIV and AIDS. That we will try to create a society where everyone is treated with love, compassion, and not a society where everyone is scared, everyone is excluded, and feeling depressed because of their HIV status. Thank you.
That was Rosemary, everybody. Let's give her a round of applause. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. DJ, thank you. So we're going to go for lunch now. However, after lunch, we have we have 3 concurrent sessions. So the sessions are going to be going hand in hand for about 40 minutes. And that is one of the last events today. That's second to the last event before we have our closing remarks. So we have 3 halls. So the first session is about technology for HIV prevention. That's going to be in hall 1. So you can find hall 1 by the side, by your right hand, by my right hand side when you go outside. And the another session that's going to be happening in hall 1 is effective communication and advocacy techniques for AYP HIV prevention programs. No, now those two sessions are going to be happening in Hall 1. Another session is going to be happening in Hall 2, which is by my left hand side when you go outside the hall. And it's combating stigmatization, ensuring rights, ensuring health rights and HIV prevention for key population. So this session is going to be happening in Hall 2, and the third session is going to be happening here. The third session is going to be happening here, and it's about harm reduction for young people who use drugs in Nigeria. So please, let's kindly now go for lunch.
So the main hall is here. Hall 1 is here. Hall 2 is there. Hall 3 is there.
So it doesn't matter. You can just
Because you said problem. Sorry. Sorry. So please let's do this announcement again. Immediately after lunch is happening upstairs. Immediately after lunch, please let's break out for the concurrent session. Now, the first section, there's a mix up, sorry. For the concurrent session, the one on utilizing technology for HIV prevention and then the effective communication and advocacy techniques is happening here, main hall, and the main hall. Then the second one is happening, the second hall is here, the hall 2 is here. That's the section on combating stigmatization, ensuring health rights and HIV prevention for KP. Hall 2, just outside the banner, there's a hall there. Then the hall 3 is the section for harm reduction is happening. And then lastly, please, this is to announce if you're here and you're supported by PEPFAR, you filled your reimbursement form and you did not submit, they are here. Please kindly go and submit it. It's not the one somebody will say you did not submit your form or you did not fill. And for those that went to Army Resource Center to do their registration and did not meet up that process, please kindly go outside and meet the PEPFAR team there so that you can fill your form. Yes, please, if you have not done that, just go outside and do that now. And then we can break out for lunch now. Thank you.
Just carry on to the no time, start pointing for your difference, and at the same time, I did ask, stand out, count down, fast, I find one to pick like 6 5 6 96, I push. Bó ṣe ń ṣe wò bó ṣe ń ṣe wò iná kejì àṣírí mo fọ́ fáyé ṣé Bọ́ládé máa gbọ́ mọ́ lọ ọ̀tọ̀ọ̀tọ̀ ìjíṣẹ́ mọ́ lọ ìjọsìn ti jẹ́ kó máa lọ find anybody never needs one is one ẹ̀jẹ̀ ti mú ní kẹwàá ti kì í àṣàkẹ́ létí náà tell me now no get another one I go take am to wetin I love crazy love ìrètí ara change Mr. Money Ginger. Mr. Money Ginger. Problem if you know the feeling. You can try to say As I'm feeling you, I want no say it and you're sick of the not the feeling, you try it and you're right, me not the feeling, so now you try it and you're everybody, what is that? Normally, classic DJ. Viniera.
It's a thing now. Okay. I
Wait, say.
let her go get her to go to church.
Why?
And then one night, girl, look at
Normally.
relationship be like job. And I know that you see vehicle. And you know about you, I'm a stop. From what you see, low time. But the lamb and I turn by turn. You have to wait till you reach your God again. My head is runs. My brain is done. That's why you sleep fast, so not back for love. I be big boy too far. Baby, stand up, move on, if you get it stormy. And your presence is stunning. Stop playing, I see what love you money. See Jesus is coming, I know I'm born again. Now, it's too easy to be the question just to. It's too easy to be the Jesus to be so much better. See to be so much better. It's too easy to be better. It's too easy to be better. Jesus to be somebody better. See to be somebody better. Not ready to that's how you teach us for the time for no. I'm just point too far. Baby, start up, move on, and you get it started. There's your presence is stunning. She can see what I'm feeling for it. She did what is coming. Oh, no, I know they got jealousy. They do like to come body. Not just say them, I think sweet. My body for nobody. Sure. I know like to the foreplay. If I foreplay, I know go take. And I don't like to the romance, cause romance is the kill it, the romance. But they lost, my great they trust. That I use me fast to not like butter. I'm trying to too far. Baby, start up, move on, and you get it stormy. And your presence is stunning. Stop playing, I see what love is on it. See, this what is coming. I don't maybe I tell you now. Okay. I when I go get I go to church. And then one night, girl, look at relationship be like job. And I know that you see vehicle. And you know about you, I'm a top. From our she low down. Don't like you have to really reach your cause again. My head is hurts. My brain is hurts. That's why you see fast so not like for love. I be back for too far. Baby, start up, move on, and you get it. And your presence is stunning. Stop playing, I see what love on it. It is what it's coming, I know I'm born again. Now, don't judge my head too much, yeah. That's not for the head. And if they fall, you best in me, I'm gonna take my best ask me. Best me, I said it, I should. It's so nice. Now about the agent, I think I do the best. Intelligent agent. I'm in it someday, yes, sir. And I didn't be asked by the sun. That's not just a book. Evil don't know, that's not something. No one wants to surgery. Look at God, everybody. That's pushing high. That's much. God, let it have. That's much.
What's your country? Because me set on heaven. Look at the legacy. Shall not say heaven. Mama, no say me. Oh, when you look so big in heaven. More class not on my door. When you have a fun, magic, and it's the big door. Jack,
I'm off to the other one, I don't go come out. I even see my paracetamol. Baby, I'm gone, no go paracetamol. You want some? Get no scatter. I wanna know your body. I will get the plan. Jig. Only you do me, da 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 da. And I don't want to deny you. I am you, my soul. Just like I wanna know.